Now we are going to make probably the most complex part of the drone assembly. We are going to solder power cables to our motor control board. And additionally, we are going to connect flight controller to the motor control board and try to install everything into our drone frame. So what we will need to have. First of all, I cut couple wires, black and red. It's about 13-15 centimeters each long. And I got one XT60 connector, and it's, in our case, it's a female one, because if you look at battery connector, it's going to be male, and in this case we're going to fit to each other. And I have from the kit couple shrinking tubes as well that I'm going to use in order to secure all connection points from external environment. And I unpacked both motor controller and flight controller. So what we have in the package? If we are talking about controllers, here we have two boards. We have these silicone spacings. In case of Holybro motor controller, we have 4 of them, and we obviously need to install them in order to make sure that the board cannot touch the frame itself. Or we can potentially generate shortcut, because carbon can easily be used in order to transfer electricity. So never install board in a way then some components of the board touch carbon plates. Yes, we're trying to cover them somehow, but we still can just pass all the electricity. We are going to have this side of the board on the top. So if you look at the spacing, you can see that we have a longer part of the spacing and very small part of the spacing on the top. So we are going to install them like this to make sure that we have small part here and longer part here, because you can see there is a pretty thick connector, and we need to make sure that everything is under the frame. And in case of flight controller is going to be located like this. It's going to be on the top part of the drone, and this side is going to face down. And in fact, I like this flight controller because you can see we will solder all the components to these contacts, and it's really hard to damage anything here because nothing on this side at all. Moreover, it's easy to cover it using silicone coating, and make sure that by default you need to install this plate, this controller, in a way that shows by an arrow here. It shows exactly direction, primary direction. There is your forward part of your drone. So originally we assumed that we are going to fly this way, having camera, and it's not so important. You can potentially rotate your flight controller. Depends on your preferences, but in this case you will need to open parameters in Betafly or Autopilot, depends which software you're using, and modify parameters of the sensor that is responsible, contains accelerometer and gyroscope unit and compass unit, to make sure that this unit aware about its own position and can navigate drone into the right direction. But we will set up it like this by default, and this is going to be forward part of the drone, and this is going to be our back part of the drone. So, we need to set up spacing as well, so we will do the same. we'll insert spacings in a way, then we have smaller part on the top and a little bit bigger part of this spacing in the bottom. The problem here is that this spacing is too small, and if you install them, counting that the most of components on the bottom side of the board, it will touch our flight controller, and at least it will be located really close to the flight controller. So that's why usually what I would recommend to add additional spacing, but you have 6, we don't have 8. Or you can potentially add some plastic bolts between this motor controller and this ESC and this flight controller to make sure that you can generate additional spacing. Or even not bolts, but any kind of spacing. You can even print something on 3D printer just to make sure that it's going to be generate enough space between flight controller and ESC. So what about cables? It has both kits have some cables. What we will need to use? We will need to use this one that it has at least some colors compared to Holybro cable. Moreover, one side of this connector already disconnected from this stuff, and all what we need to do just connect them in the right direction. In this case, we need to disconnect this side first, and after that change wires and connect them again in right direction, because these controllers has been made by different companies, and if you just use this connector and connect them one by one, your flight controller will be damaged because they don't match pin numbers, and it means that potentially a power cable is not going to be pin is not going to be the same pin on this board, and you need to change some wires in order to match. We will just look at the instruction and understand how to match all these cables, but we are not using this one because first of all it's black, and the second one, in order to change some wires, we need to remove them first. This stuff can potentially help you, and you can see I have really thin tips here, and it's easy to probably remove some wires, but it still requires some attention and you can damage your connector, etc. In this case, first of all, you have two connectors here. If you damage one, you can just use another one, and the second, it's really easy, just insert cables in the right direction, and that's all. So we are going to leave this cable, we are going to leave at least this connector, at least one more cable with something probably for GGI unit that we are not going to use. We are not going to use digital, any kind of digital units and to translate video signal or anything like this. We are not going to use these black cables. With a small one, it will not work at all, because you can see that connector in the motor controller here, it's on this side, but if we place our flight controller board like this, connector to connect everything to motor controller on this side, and we need a little bit longer cable rather than this one. But once again, they don't know which flight controller you're going to use, so we just added two cables. The same situation, I believe, for Matek. We don't know which ESC you're going to use, so that's why we just decided don't connect all these wires at all, and you can just pick the right direction, and we will do it very carefully. And that's all what you need as for now. We'll start with inserting all these spacings into our boards, and after that we will try to solder power cable. First of all, we need to solder XT60 connector, and after that we will connect everything to our ESC. Let's go! Okay, done. As for me, this part with all these spacings are the most complex one. And you can see then we inserted white spacings into my tag, even like now it cannot like stay flat because some connectors, especially this one, are bigger compared to spacing size. So for my tech, I would recommend to add something more convenient here. And the same situation is here, yeah. So if we put it on top, we have a problem, yeah. So we need something between. Potentially, we could use these work spacings for this Matek, but in this case, it could be not enough even for motor controller to use white spacings as well, yeah. So it could touch the board, so I don't want to do this. And that's why we will need something between. But okay, as for now, we don't care much about for a controller, and even about motor controller, we care more about XT60 and how to solder it. Let's try to do this. In order to do this, I'm going to use my soldering iron, and obviously I would like to use, since we are going to after that assemble a power cable as well, I will probably use the biggest tip in my collection. Probably it's too much for XT60, but I will try to manage it. And at least it will hit my XT60 pretty fast, and I hope that I will be able to solder everything. So I am just aiming to wait until my soldering iron is going to reach 700 Fahrenheit, and let's use a helper to do this soldering stuff. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to insert male connector into our female as well, to make sure that it's not going to be damaged, because sometimes when you heat it too much, it can go inside this plastic shell, and you need to take another connector. But we still need to remember that we are going to solder our wires to this part, and we have plus here, so it's going to be a red cable here, and we have minus here, it's going to be black cable here. And let's see what we can do. First of all, let's try to add some solder to the end of our cables. In order to do this, I need to remove cover from here a little bit and make some rotations to make sure that all these small wires are not going to generate any shortcuts with a cable that next to this one. Don't apply much force, because you will cut your cable. We need just remove the shell and insulation. And there are some cutters that allows you to cut much faster, but with different numbers for every wire, but I don't like them for any kind of reason. And I'm just using the simplest tool here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add flux, because we need to add some solder first. And now let's see, where is my solder? Pick some solder and just rotate it and try to make sure that you have solder everywhere. Okay, enough. Always clean the tip. And now we can start solder the connector. So once again, we need this one. And let's start with red one. So we have plus here. First thing that we are going to do, we are going to add some flux. And we are going to add solder into this hole as well. Right, we will just try to make sure that it's going inside. So add some solder. Okay, good enough. And now let's try to heat both this connector and the cable itself in order to make sure it's better to add flux as well to both of them. And okay, should be fine. And now let's try to heat both of them in order to make sure that we can move this cable a little bit inside. And probably I just added a little bit solder on top, and it looks good. So at least it looks as a solid piece, and I hope that we will not be able to move it out at all. And always check, it's still hot, but always check that you can remove your connector from here. Yeah, everything works fine though, because if you add too much solder, sometimes it can just move in even to this point and you can solder everything. So don't add too much. And let's do the same things with the second wire. So I believe no way to disconnect it. Okay, we have this one, a little bit weight. A little bit weight until we can apply the shrinking tube. This one, and try to move it inside the connector like this. If you apply just enough solder, it's easy to do, because if you apply too much, from time to time solder block this opportunity, like this for example. But always let's try to move it inside. For example, we can force it a little bit. Okay, and now we need to apply some heat. In my case, I have heating then, and I will just apply heat to this area. So this is our final result. This tube is not going to go anywhere. If you have a chance to buy connector with a plastic shield here, where I have anything like this. Let me show you. Like for example, this one, so this shoot can be attached. Do this. Pay attention that it's important, don't damage connector, especially in case of plastic shoot, because if you just touch it with your soldering iron, it's a plastic, it will be damaged and it will be really hard to attach with after that. So do it very careful, but usually you buy many of them, and if you damage one, just use another one. And in fact, it's a good way to practice your soldering skills as well. So once you are able to solder this connector, okay, you can go ahead and try to solder this cable to the control board. Now, we need to solder this cable to the board. And what we are going to do here, we not going to solder like this. The reason we don't want to have this cable moving across the drone and go in the tail of the drone, because in the backward side we have too many electronic components. We have VTX, we are going to have antennas, we have antenna for video signal, we have antennas probably for our Yellow Express LRS receiver. So it's not wisely to have a cable, power cable there, because potentially due to all this electricity, your signals can be interrupted. We are going to move our cable on the side of the drone. In order to do this, we are going to solder this cable under like 35 degrees to make sure that it goes on the left side of the drone. Let's see how it's going to be. So in our case, our drone is here. Remove all these wires. Our motor controller is here. And we don't want to do this. We want to do this. And pay attention that, okay, red one is going to be this cable, black one is going to be this cable. And after that we will fix it on the left side of the drone. And here we will have our cables to antennas and antennas themselves. And we will just attach after that a capacitor. A capacitor we can place like this, or we can even move it to the side as well. But in order to do this, we need to do things. First of all, we need to prepare our cable to make sure that we can do it. So this is minus, you can see minuses here, and this is plus. So red one is going to go here, black one is going to go here. Yeah, as usual, let's remove some insulation. And in case of red one, let's cut it. Leave a space that is equal to your cable with no insulation and a little bit more. So we'll do something like this. We'll cut it and remove insulation here. Why we are doing this? Because in this case we can have 45 degrees and our cable will not be bended or anything like this. So that's why let's add solder to ends of our cables, and we need to add solder to these plates as well. Prior to do this, we need to make sure that we fix our board somehow, and it's better to cover the top part of the board and leave just these plates, because you can see you move your soldering iron and some solder can go to any of these electronic components and your board is going to be danger. You can potentially use a special paper for painting, that one that you usually use in order to have straight lines. Then you paint anything. You can print a component that you can put on top. This one doesn't fit for any kind of reason, but in fact you can print your own thing. In Ukraine, people are doing some helpers and just place boards there, and after that assemble all the cables. But we are not going to use any helpers as for now. We'll just use painting paper here in order to cover all the stuff, and in order to have stability for this stuff, we'll probably leave it on frame, because in this case frame is heavy, and in this case it's not going to be moved, and we don't need any helper in order to fix this board. It's on the frame, and we'll solder everything directly here. Of course, in some cases it's not easy because we have some bolts, and you can remove some stands if you want in order to simplify your life, but it's a good stand itself, yeah. So for your soldering thing. So let's do this. Let's apply solder here, let's apply solder here, and let's try to solder these cables like this. Yeah, so we will start with the red one, because if we attach black one, it will be really hard to attach red one. After that we will start with the red one, and after that we will attach black one. Okay, you can see I covered the board, and let's add flags here. And you can ignore this hose. We're not going to insert any wires into this hose because first of all we have two thick wires where we will not fit, and the second it does not help much in fact. So I'm not sure why we have it here, but you can just put solder, and if you can cover some of these holes, it's not a problem at all. And to the cables. Okay. And now, as usual, we'll add some solder to the tip. Make sure that you have it everywhere. You can see small piece of solder just moved down just because, and it can happen anytime. It's a small ball that is movable, and it can generate a shortcut. That's why it's important to clean your electronic component after soldering, even if you use flags that you should not clean. So should be enough. And now let's look at the board. You need much solder in this case because we have really big soldering placeholders here, and just add as much as needed in order to make sure that you cover the whole plate and you have something on top, at least to start building a solid object together with your cables once you attach them. Later we'll add some solder as well on top, but we need to fix at least our cables in the beginning, and after that we'll be able to generate like a perfect bulb, I hope. Okay, not much, but good enough. at least as for now. That's why, big tip is very important. If you're using small one, you start trying to increase heat with small tip, and it will just transfer heat to the whole board, and you potentially even can desolder some components. So always use the right size of the tip. And now let's try to let's check again. Black is here, red is here, so everything is right. We cutted everything correctly, and let's do it like this. So we'll just try to attach red one here, and after that attach black one here. Okay, we need to add flux. I removed the needle because I don't know much force needed to be applied to extract flux. And let's try to connect the cable to our plate, and after that let's try to make a perfect bulb. So it's going to be something like this, I believe. And let's try to apply heat. Okay, I believe it's good. It should not go to any way. Usually you can use a magnifier to see it. And looks great. So just make sure that the bulb generates like really great solid body altogether between the wire and the board, and you don't have a situation then you have a bulb that looks like a separated body, and potentially it will be like a case in your cable, since it's going to heat as well. If connection is not really great, heat will potentially desolder your cable as well. It's something that we are trying to avoid. And the second cable right here, I already added some flux and clean the tip. Add some solder to the tip and try to attach this wire. Okay, to this side as well. So it's fine, and after that we can just fix this cable in our frame like this, for example. You can even bend it a little bit. Yeah, it should not go away right now. It's fixed very well. And one more thing that we definitely need to do, we need to add our capacitor. Yeah, this one. So you have black cable here minus here, and on the capacitor this minus should be placed here, and this is for plus. If you suddenly misplace your capacitor, it will blow. So that's why always make sure that minus go to minus. And how we can place it? Several ways. We can potentially place it like here, yeah. So probably we can do this. It's like one option, and it just go a little bit like outside. It's even better to return stand back to make sure that we know how it's going to be located inside the drone. Like like this, for example. The problem in this configuration that this leg is going to be too long. And longer leg means that there is a potential that this leg will just be broken due to heat, and it's better to make your legs as small as possible. So another option that we can apply as well, to place capacitor underneath. So we can just do it like this. One leg is here and one leg is here. And in this case, we can move it a little bit up. And probably legs are not going to be so long. The same, not perfect, but we can try. Or we can try to place our capacitor just straight like this. In this case, we can potentially cut our legs as short as possible. The problem that I don't like is that this leg will touch this cable, and if we move this capacitor and move cable later, probably we can manage damage insulation for this cable. It's something that I don't want to do. So usually for this board I prefer to place capacitor underneath. Of course, this board is not perfect from this perspective, because you can see these holes have a really long distance between. So that's why we will have really long legs here that I wanted to avoid, but in this case at least we aren't going to touch our power wires much. So let's do this. Let's cut legs of our capacitor a little. And once again, minus should go to minus, yeah? And let's solder like this. And probably after that move a little bit up. And in order to, just in case, in order to avoid any potential shortcuts, I would like to insulate this legs as well. So in order to do this, I'm going to use shrinking tube. And I'm going to just cut a few pieces of this tube. And we'll apply heat. So done. All the insulation can potentially help us to avoid any damages to primary wires that we have here. So what we are going to do? We are going to add flux to this point. And once again, I would recommend to use cover, at least to cover as much as possible of the board. And let's add flux, and let's make sure that we have enough solder at those points. Okay, and on this side. Okay. And now we can try to attach our capacitor. I'll probably rotate it like this. Let's find a good spot for this board and attach. So minus going to be attached to the same spot where we have board cable, and let's try to make sure that it's going inside the bulb. Oh, you can see it's moved inside the bulb, so it's not possible to remove it from there. So like going to be a perfect bulb there. Your capacitor leg is going directly from there. And let's attach this one. Apply enough heat and it will move inside. So done. Now we can move it a little bit and it should be like this. Okay, and we can add another stand to make sure that everything fits fine. And then you use a more expensive capacitor as big end, and it fill all the space between stands, so it's not going to move much. Yeah, so that's why it's like the second point why it's better to use these capacitors. If it's too small, it can vibrate and you need to find a way how to fix it. But since we are going to place VTX here, it's going to be fixed like this anyway. Yeah, so everything looks fine. Check once again that minus is here. You probably don't believe, but every time then I assemble a drone, I'm checking it all the time, and from time to time I found that I checked everything many times and I still like misplaced legs of the capacitor. I don't know why. Now what we can do, you can see that we have too much solder here, not solder, sorry, we have much flux here. And as I mentioned, it's better to clean your board. So, and by the way, you can clean, you can see lots of small balls on my carpet, and it's very important to clean carpet every time. Then you finish soldering pieces like this, because you know, if this ball just go inside your board, it can generate a shortcut. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to apply isopropyl alcohol and use toothbrush in order to clean. The board from this side, especially from this side, because we are going to place it into a drone for next step in order to attach our motors, and we will not be able to go back to this side again because it will not be removable. So that's so clean it and move from this point towards to this point. And if you suddenly have any soldering balls, anything like this, it should go away as well. Solder components. So like from this side, and we can do the same from this side. Or we can do it later, then we finish soldering here, but I prefer to do it once I finish at least the operation. Okay, later we'll clean this side once again, once we attach all the motors. So it should be something like this. And we'll use ties later in order to attach this cable to the top plate of the frame, and everything should be fine. And attach battery to it. And it should not affect propellers since we will use ties, and it will not affect antennas since all these cables and antennas are going to be on another part of the drone. So it's done. Now what we have to do? Now we have to manage this stuff. We need to do two steps here. First of all, we need to make sure, we need to check if it's going to work at all. So in order to check it, because we are going to do much, we are going to assemble many components, we will be able to test the drone. But let's make sure that controller works fine, controller can be attached to computer, and since they're Betafly by default, we can just install Betafly on our computer, attach controller, and see if Betafly can recognize it, and if you can look at parameters, change anything, etc. So once we can see the controller, once we can see that it's blinking somehow, we need USB-C to connect to computer. We can go ahead and try to assemble it. And after that, we are going to attach this cable to this side. We are going to attach this cable, and we have to find appropriate pins here and attach them to our connector. It should be somewhere on my table here, to make sure that all these cables can be mapped to pins in our motor control board. So we need to open our computer anyway in order to see schemas for both of the boards. It's something that we are going to do right now. Okay, so we have to open two websites. One in order to check information about H743 Slim 3 controller. It's a matec.com, matexis.com website. And another one, it's a Holybro website, holybro.com, that has information for takeoff for metal 4-in-1 65 amperes ESC. And in case of Teco, you can see that you can find wiring on the main page of the controller, and you need the second picture here because we are not going to connect our controller using separate wires. We are going to use this standard, don't remember how it's called, but standard connector. And you can see that now in this connector we have power from the battery, first of all, that allows us to provide voltage to our flight controller. We have ground, we have a special pin for telemetry, we have a pin that provides information about current, and we have pins for motors, motor 1, 2, 3, and 4. And if you open flight controller page from matexis.com, we can see wiring tab here. So let's open it, and we can see a picture that demonstrates how to solder all this stuff. You can see that we have battery first pin, and in fact for this controller we have battery as well. So probably red wire we are not going to change, we are going to leave it as is. But the second pin in our Matec is going to be ground. So second cable ground should go to the slot number 3. So we are not touching, we are placing power cable in the first slot. After that, we pass one slot and put ground into third slot of our connector. Next one, we have current 013. So third cable that is 01, we are going to insert into pin number 4. And finally, cable number 4 that provides telemetry, it's blue one. We are going to insert into the hole number 2 of our connector in the slot number 2. And after that, we have motor 1, motor 2, motor 3, motor 4. And here we have the same motor 1, motor 2, motor 3, motor 4. So we have to map white cables one by one. The only thing that then you are doing this, make sure that you have your connector into the right direction, because it's really easy to start adding all the cables for this
motor controller in opposite direction, and in this case you will have some problems. And let's try to do this. And prior to do this, as I mentioned, it's better to connect your board to the computer. So I have the board. It's better to remove connector just in case, but okay, I just decided to leave it and just make sure that all the cables are going to don't touch each other. And I opened Betafly and going to connect my controller to the computer to see if it's going to be connected to Betafly or no Betafly firmware. It's something new. Usually on Motec we have Betafly. Okay, for the first time in my life, I used too many of these flight controllers, but looks like that it does not have firmware. So what we are going to do? We are going to follow instruction that we have in the Butterfly, then you click Update Firmware button. So it's like not too many items here, but first thing that you have to do, click USB flash and link, and it will navigate you to a website. There you can find a link to CP210X driver. This driver is needed in order to make sure that Betafly can connect your board in bootloader mode and flash firmware. In fact, you can use STM programmer for the same reason, but as for now, I'm going to do it from Betafly, and later I will show, in next videos, I will show how to do the same from STM32 programmer. So first thing that you need to do, just download this driver. The second thing, once you downloaded the driver, on the board there is a button. There is just one button, and you need to click it and hold, and at the same time connect your board to USB. And you'll be able to see that you have just one LED here. Red one, it just shows that we have power, but we don't have any activity. And Betafly start to show that your board right now in DFU mode. In DFU mode, so next what we are going to do, we are going to choose our board. That is called Motec. Motec H743. It's exactly what we need. Pick any version of Betafly. Let's use the latest one, 452, and click Load Firmware Online. So what this stuff is going to do, this stuff is going to compile the firmware and generate a hex file for us. And after that, we can click Flash Firmware. So just red button here, DFU in FS mode here. And obviously, in my case, I'm not sure if it's important as for now, but in my case, I have radio protocol CRSF. Of course, we needed to pick it before to start compiling the firmware, and some other parameters by default. We're not going to resolve them, but let's leave everything as this. So, and after that, I can click Flash Firmware. And you can see it started erase my board, and to take some time, and after that it will try to flash latest version of Betafly. I'm not sure why they forgot to flash exactly this port, but we'll fix everything. In case of ArduPilot, we will need to use STM32 programmer in order to upload ArduPilot firmware and connect to ArduPilot using Mission Planner, for example. I checked, by the way, prior, I just tried to understand what is happening, and I checked if probably it has ArduPilot already there. And it looks like that no, it doesn't have anything, and it's strange. So let's try to erase everything. Once again, it's never happened to me with this board, but it's great that it happened because you can see, and if you have the same problem, you just can follow the same instruction. And you can see, in fact, I just did not do many of these items. I just clicked the button, attached board to the computer once again. It's recognized DFU. In my case, I already have driver, of course, because I refreshed too many different boards. And we are waiting for results, and it's flashing right now. And everything is fine. We'll be able to see that we can connect to the board, and we will be able to move it a little bit and see how it's respond to our movement. Okay, it's very fine. Program is successful. Now don't touch anything. And it will need to take a few seconds in order to restart everything. Okay, let's see. Looks like that it went out of DFU mode and it started blinking. And let's try to click connect. Okay, now everything is fine. Just tells us that accelerometer is not calibrating. What we can do, we can place this board on the table, like in this direction. It's exactly how we are going to fly. And probably arrow moving outside of us. Imagine if you would like to test the one like this, click calibrate accelerometer and click reset the axis. And now we have our drone. You can see it's moving fine. Everything is fine. It recognizes parameters from accelerometer, gyroscope, everything is fine. Okay, perfect. Perfect. Now we can connect it to the motor controller. Let's go to my lab.
So we have our board. If you remember the picture, it was located like this, and it should be battery. After that, telemetry. After that, ground. After that, current, and 1, 2, 3, 4. So how connector should be placed? Let's see. So looks like that. You can see that some elements that allows us to disconnect and hold in fact wires are from this side, and connector is going to be placed like this. So this is a solid part here. Let's try to insert it. Okay, it's fit very well. And it's exactly how we are going to attach our wires. Starting from the left, then we hold connector using its solid part on the top. And let's grab our cable. So first thing that we need to attach is going to be our power cable. And let's do it. You can help yourself. I think it's helpful. Think it very small tips. I need to take another glasses. Okay, next thing that should be attached. We can in fact use ground one and ground in the case of our control board attached to hole number 3. So let's put it inside hole number 3, and if it's solid part, you can see I'm attaching using this connector up. So moving it in hole number 3. Okay, check that it's not going to go away. Next one, in case of Matek, we have current cable. It's going to be yellow. Current cable goes to hole number 4. Once again up and sword number 4. It has a metal thing that we can use in order to push wire down. And last one, if you're talking about colored cables, in case of Matek we have current. In case of our ESC, it goes to slot number 2. Okay, let's use the tool. In order to connect it to slot number 2. So in your case it should be like this: red, after that blue, black and yellow. I hope everything is fine. And after that I'm going to attach white cables one by one. So this one goes to slot number 5. Okay. Okay. Hope everything is fine. So cable 1, cable 2, cable 3, cable 4. So motors attached. The most important of key, it should be power cable and it should be ground cable. In case of Matek, pin number 2. In case of motor controller, pin number 3. And now, why we need to do it right now? We need to leave it as is before we attach any motor, because later it will be really hard to insert this connector into the slot. Now we can move this board with no issues and we can do it with no problems. And now I would like to attach this pin to the Matek board. So if everything is fine, we should be able to see, pay attention that I cleaned the carpet a little bit to remove all these metal balls from here. Still have a bunch of them there, but they should not affect us. So now, if I put some power to the motor controller, case number 1, our capacitor will blow up and we'll have some smoke here or probably here. In case number 2, nothing will happen, but we will be able to see that our controller is operating, so we should see at least red LED, and we should have one more LED that will demonstrate any kind of activity. Prior to do this, I would like to use smoke stopper, just in case. And now let's try to attach my battery and be ready to remove this one. Okay, so no smoke, it's great, and our controller looks like that it's operating somehow. Hope everything will be fine. So we can disconnect our battery. At least we did not misplace power and ground cables. And now we can go ahead and we can disconnect white controller, because it will not help us. In case of motors, we have to install our board into the frame. Let's take the frame and install it like this. And you can see cable is here. What we need to do later is just connect it to the white controller. And everything looks fine, and now we are ready to start attaching our motors to the motor controller. Important thing, I just almost I believe that I could do a great mistake here, because it's easy, like attach a board, start soldering motors, etc. Pay attention that this is the forward part of the drone, this is the backward one. So what we need to do, we need to remove controller. Yeah, it's happening from time to time, and then you like attach 2-3 motors, it will be too late, and you need to desolder everything. So pay attention to this one. It's great that I made this mistake. And done. Now we have right position for our motor controller, and we are ready to start attaching motors. It was the reason why I just attached one motor with ties to the frame, because usually I know that I have to start from this side, and it allows me to avoid some common mistakes. Okay, let's go ahead, but we will do it in the next video. Thank you.